I am really excited about this particular presentation because it's a case study of a successful deployment by a world-class organization, Chapman Taylor, on the Microsoft platform. And those of you out there who know me know I'm a big Microsoft fan. So Andy Chapman from Chapman Taylor joined in the year 2000. He became a director in 2008 and relocated to the Shanghai studio in 2010, returning to London in 2014. Andy sits on the UK board and is active in management of the UK business. He has a wealth of international design experience and technical knowledge and has delivered major retail and mixed-use developments in the UK, Eastern Europe, and China. Andy's responsible for the group's BIM and CAD strategy and continuous improvement initiatives. He's going to tell us about their deployment of Atvero. Okay, stop share. Andy, I hope your mic's live.
I hope so. Can you hear me, Phil?
I can indeed. Oh, Andy's got a problem with his video, so you'll just have to listen to him.
Yeah, apologies for that. So hopefully you can all see the screen.
Yes,
so thank you for the introduction. As you say, this is really almost a personal account of what we've been looking at over the last 18 months, which really started with a fairly mundane task, really, which is how to replace an aging document management system that we had within the business, and really that process that we've been through. So just an introduction, just to set the context really for this. So Chapman Taylor, we're an architectural business. We've been around about 60 years, and we've grown in that time to 16 studios around the world. So throughout that time, the studios have always collaborated. They've always worked together. But I think that's a trend that we're starting to see more and more, and whether that's just through geography or whether it's about the skill sets that are contained within those studios or the individuals themselves. I think that's a trend we're going to see more and more as we move forward. So just to highlight that, this is a project I'm currently working on. The project itself is in the Middle East. It's been run out of London. But actually to deliver this, we're using expertise from around the group. So actually pre-COVID, my boss spent most of his time out in the Shanghai office, but we were using the Bangkok office, the Madrid office, and some design work down in South America, and really looking at how those people communicate and share information, I think, was what really started this. So the image on the screen at the moment, that's really where we were, I think, sort of, a few years ago. We're lucky we are a process-driven business, and we've always had and adopted and implemented multiple systems. But because it's grown organically, they've tended to create a little bit of sort of information silos. It's all in different systems running on different platforms, and the user themselves interfacing with multiple different systems in order to do their day-to-day job. When you expand that out across Chapman Taylor as a group, you start to see that really these systems which are on-premise are then replicated again and again around those individual studios, and then to share information. We do have VPN connections, but really you start to fall back on FTP servers, email, sharing files that way. So what that started to show us, I think, was, these dispersed teams, information silos, they've all got independent document management processes and people in place. Some of those systems that have been implemented over the years are becoming out of date, which is starting to limit that sort of collaboration and efficiency of sharing. So that ultimately ended up in poor adoption of some of those systems, which then gives us a lot of unstructured data and a failing really in how to track that and to understand where that is and what's happening to that information with it repeated again and again. So I would say it was a mundane task, really. How do we change the document management system that's 15 years old? So we started with 3 core objectives, really, that the business wanted to achieve. So actually wanted one system that would operate across the group, so all 16 studios. We wanted to try and break down those silos, the information silos, give as much as possible, as far as we could, a single point of access for the user to all of Chapman Taylor's documentation and information, whether that be the corporate information in the intranet, or whether it be project information, global contacts, or project related contacts. So we looked at the various systems that were available to just replace straight off. So we scored them, the criteria on the left there, sorry, they're a bit small to read, but that was the functionality that we wanted. So we scored each of those things: the incumbent system, we looked at indexing systems, we looked at database systems, and we started to look at SharePoint, and we scored those out of 5, and then averaged that out, and it started to give us a picture, which you can see the incumbent system sort of mid-range 2.4. The best systems out there we thought were giving us a bit better than that, something in the region of sort of 3.49, 3.5. The database ones weren't far off, and actually SharePoint really wasn't delivering what we wanted. It was very strong on the collaboration, the connectivity of that global workforce, but really we couldn't get it to do the level of document management that we really required, and that you've come to expect, really, particularly in the AEC industry. Whereas the other two were very strong on that, but they weren't really giving us that connectivity that we wanted, and promoting the levels of collaboration across the group. So that's when we teamed up with Nitty Gritty and Atvero to see if there was a way of applying that document management, the functionality of an EDMS system, and then combining that with SharePoint, so overlaying that onto the SharePoint, and then giving us all the advantages that we could see for the connectivity in the cloud-based environment. So we ran the scoring again. And what you can see then is that actually those two things together started to give us an answer that was much closer to where we thought we would be. I have to say, probably at this time, lots of people were telling us that obviously everybody had looked at SharePoint, and most people gave up after a little while. I say we're about 18 months into this now with Atvero, and overlaying that onto it really answered all of the goals that the business had set, or it appeared that it would. So that gave us the confidence really to pursue that avenue further. So that's what we've been working on with Atvero. So going back to where we were, this is now the new system and the new structure for the business. So again, we've got the studios, all of that information is now centralized in the cloud, with each of the studios accessing the same data and storing their information in the same system. We do have a little bit of on-premise servers and things, mostly for things like Revit, which we do use BIM 360 to cloud host that. But really, as much as possible, we were trying to move into that centralized location. This is a stock slide from Microsoft, just to show that we are using SharePoint out of the box, and that was again one of the principles we wanted to adopt from the start, was that we wouldn't customize this part of the system too much, because obviously it updates and it modernizes almost on a daily basis. But we at Vero built an umbrella thing that would allow us to use it in the way that we wanted. So from the other side, sorry, the Teams is going a bit quickly now. The Teams approach, Team Sites, gave us all the functionality that we wanted on a project by project basis. So every project gets a team site, and then it gets all the associated components on a project by project basis. So this was just saying that at that point, and this is probably 6 months ago, we thought really that we'd addressed all of the key business drivers, really. So that the one system, the single point of access, and the enhancement of the collaboration and knowledge sharing. But we went back and started to think about this single point of access a little bit more. And what we realized really was that we still had a couple of interfaces really. So we had the collaboration part and we had the accessing the information. We're still sitting slightly separately. So we then started to look at Teams, and obviously this is take up of Teams has been huge over the last sort of lockdown period as well. But what we've been working on is making Teams the primary point of interface for the users. So on the right, we've got both the formal, the issued information, the corporate information, and on the left, we've got all the collaboration tools that come with Teams. So again, we're using a lot of this out of the box, but SharePoint, where we thought we were going to end up, has become almost the repository of the information, and actually the window into that information has shifted towards Teams. And we'll just show you what that looks like. So again, using the team interface, that now gives a view into both our corporate data through the corporate intranet, and that's done wonders for keeping people informed across the group. So we're pushing out news and events and all those sort of things across the group. At the same time, giving people a way of accessing information that's personal to them, so their projects. It also gives them links into all of the corporate data that we have, the how-to guides, etc. We then have all the inbuilt parts again. So this is straight Teams, project Teams, using live chat, using the video, using the ad hoc file sharing, but we also have the inbuilt parts now for Atvero. So this is using Teams to access Atvero to look at all of the project data, all the project records there, and all the functionality that you would expect from an EDMS system. So that's where we've got to, and there's just a couple of slides at the end, slightly coming up to the end of the time, is looking forward. So obviously we've had a great relationship with Atvero, so we're just looking to the future really with them. So this is obviously, if you looked at the past, where we all shared information by sending and receiving through emails via FTP, faxes years ago, I guess, and then where we are at the moment, where we're looking at common data environments with people putting things into one place, and obviously that's got some shortcomings with multiple common data environments, sometimes a client-led one and then a consultant one, so for the collaboration work that goes on before publishing and things like that. So what we're looking at with Atvero at the moment is this connected data environment where using the cloud and cloud technologies to share information around the team whilst maintaining the data in each person or each company's ownership. I think the advantage of this as well is with the common data environment, obviously we've got a lot of duplication, so we maintain our own records, Chapman Taylor records, and then we publish them to the client as well. So what we're looking at is, can we break that down into a single point of recording our data and then sharing it with people. So that's explained a little bit more maybe on this diagram, where we've got us at the top, you've got Teams A and Teams B, and we're sharing information between each other using that cloud environment, and then publishing that up into using Atvero, and sharing that then as the repository, was keeping ownership of each person's information and giving access and sharing data around those SharePoint tenancies. And then on the side there, the golden Atvero on the side is obviously the client being able to keep records of all of the data that moves around that scheme. So I think that's really exciting, and we're looking forward to working on that with them. So again, the last slide, just so you can see where we are. So the Atvero is a product launched at the end of last year. So we've been working with Atvero for about 12 months, I guess, to that point. And then over the beginning of this year, looking at that Teams integration to give us that true single point of access to all the collaboration and the data, which we're just rolling out to teams at the moment across the business. And then looking forward, obviously Atvero have got a roadmap, and what we'll start to see is more integration with other platforms that I'm sure a lot of you use, some of the leading CRMs, ERP type systems, and obviously BIM 360. So the development of the connectors from Atvero into those will come in the next quarter, and then looking forward that common data environment 2.0. So that's a whirlwind. Got it in, I think, just within the 15 minutes. So
that was great. It's really good.
So yeah, if anyone, obviously we're always keen to talk about this. I could talk about it all day. So if anybody wants any more information, talk to us about how it's going, please contact. Love to talk to you.
That's great. That's great. Can you please unshare your screen there? Okay. Share screen. Here we go. Share. I want to thank you so much for giving that wonderful case study, and it was great to hear about a successful company building upon SharePoint and bringing a product to market, leveraging the Microsoft platform. And I'm thrilled that you're getting so much value from it. I'm aware that we're over time, so I need to wrap this up now. But there's a couple points I want to make first before everybody leaves. And that is that our next event is on Thursday, August 13th. We're doing the second Thursday of each month. And this time we'll start at 4 p.m. to cater more for the American market. So the way Glimpse works is that we do one in the morning for the Asian markets, one midday for EMEA, and then one for the US. So the five people on deck for the 13th are Mark Coates, who you heard put a question to David Hancock earlier, and then my good friend Dan Patterson, who I worked with at Pertmaster, and then worked for running the Acumen business prior to and through our acquisition by Deltek. Then Nodes and Links from Greg Lawton. This is a new product that I'm really excited about that takes an AI-based approach to analysis of activity networks. I think it has tremendous promise. So I hunted Greg down and said, please. Lucas Ulbricht with Sublano. It's one of my favorite applications because it's process-driven around the trades. It reduces the need for CPM schedules, and it's been proven on some really magnificent projects. And then we have a really exciting case study to conclude with Zeiss, the German optics manufacturer, for PM Web, an American PMIS product that's doing extremely well around the globe, and that have been investing resources in the UK market. And that's going to be led by PM Web's partners, Premoned, based out of Holland. So really thrilled about Stefan Hollick's presentation there. This is where I draw it to a close. I want to thank all of you for staying with us, and just let you know that we are always on the lookout for really great technology case studies. If you know of a deployment where new technology made a difference, where somebody stuck a stake in the ground and said, let's do things differently, let's try a new way, I'm not going to be fine with the status quo, let me know. We are always looking for new vendors and exciting new stories to tell. So thank you for joining with us and for sticking with us. Thank you to our sponsors and our speakers. And we'll catch you on August the 13th. Bye now.